It was the year of 2021, and we had just returned to school after the pandemic, after lockdown. Now, if I'm being honest with you, over lockdown, I did not a single iota of work, of my schoolwork. Nothing at all. I started with the good intentions. I was like, I'm going to go to my team's meetings, I'm going to go to the calls and I'm going to do a bit of work, maybe an hour or two a day. That can't be that hard. But then I was just gaming all day. Just playing video games with my friends all day. Having the crack on Instagram, messaging girls, posting pictures. You know the crack. And so when I returned from lockdown, I was a very different person than the person who had entered lockdown. The person who had entered lockdown was a lot more shy, believe it or not, because the fact that we were all forced to stay inside of our houses and communicate only online allowed me to be more confident. And it allowed me to be more confident because I didn't have to do it in person. I could hide behind a screen, right? You see this with a lot of people on social media. They say things they wouldn't dare say in person. And this is because there's a level of confidence that they have on social media that they just can't replicate in person. But when you spend enough time on social media, purely on social media, with no outside interactions in the real world, with real people face to face, then you become conditioned by that way of interaction, by that way of communication, and you start to implement it into your real life interactions. And so I'd become a lot more outgoing, a lot more confident, a lot more of that kind of class clown, funny guy kind of figure. And that carried through when I returned to school. And I made friends with a whole different bunch of people. People that I used to really be quite intimidated by when I was younger. I started trying to fit in with the wrong type of people because I thought it was cool. The roadman kind of figure, right? They were respected and they were intimidating at school. And that was what got them respect. So they were respected out of fear, not because somebody liked them or appreciated them, but respected them because it was out of intimidation. And I wanted respect, and I thought, I don't know another way to get it than to be intimidating. And so I tried to kind of play that part, although it just didn't fit me. It was like trying to put on a glove that's the wrong size. You can keep trying to do it and you can keep trying to make it work, but eventually it's going to slip off. One day I was in class and it was 5th period, so the last period of the day. And we just finished PE, we were all sweaty. I think me and my mates had secretly kept our joggers on because we didn't want to change back into our trousers. And the teacher didn't notice. So we're sitting at the back of the class, everybody's kind of restless, the lesson's dragging, you just want to go home, right? And so me and my mates we're scrolling through Instagram, we're looking at girls, we're talking about stuff. We got our bags up on the desk so we can have our phones in front of them. And I'm with these 4 lads, 3 or 4 lads, I don't really remember exactly, but they're all kind of the same kind of character, right? At the time. One of them was a pretty good lad as well as me, but the other 2 were really quite, out there. And so we're kind of bad influences on each other, I guess. And this is what happens at school, Peer pressure is a massive influence. And so on this particular day, I was feeling quite on my game. I was quite feeling, ready to do whatever would make someone laugh or whatever would cause some disruption or chaos. And I started to become that figure since I came back from school because I just wanted more attention from people. I wanted more respect as well, but this wasn't the way to go about it, and I didn't know that at the time. It just made me look like more of a prick. But you live and you learn, I guess. So we're thinking of things to do, we're just talking, we're having a laugh, and this guy gets the deodorant can, right? Now, by the way, let me just say science, which is the lesson that we're in right now, is a lesson that I cause the most trouble in, and it's because the teacher, I don't necessarily like her that much, and she doesn't necessarily like me that much, and I also have a few friends in this class that rub off on me in a negative way and bring out that side of me, right? So these are the lessons, the science lessons, as far as I can remember, where I was the most obnoxious. And so they have a deodorant can and we're shaking it about, we're doing this, and he says, go on, Ryan, pop it. And I don't have a second thought. This is the point that I'm at. I just don't care. I really don't care. I'd been getting detentions pretty much every day to this point, skipping them every day. I think I had about 50 referrals in the year, which is the one above a detention where you get sent to the hall, get kicked out of the lesson. I had about 50 of those. And this was miles away from the person I used to be. I used to be that really shy, introverted kid. The teachers couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it, especially the teachers that had known me and watched me grow up all that time. But then when I did change in year 11, those teachers were so proud of me, and it was an amazing feeling just to see their faces and do them proud, Doing myself proud is more important than anything, but it was really good to see. And I didn't think twice. I popped the deodorant can and it starts spraying everywhere, and there's a massive, commotion, if you would call it that. And sadly enough, there's a kid in front of me, right? On the row in front of me. Now, this kid's a good kid, man. Like, I remember him. We got along pretty well. He was a funny kid, no trouble, genuine, honest guy, kind, just a solid lad. And I didn't know at the time, but he had asthma. And when I popped this deodorant can, he started, coughing up really badly. And the teacher was like, obviously, she didn't know who popped it at the time. She knew it came from our back row. And so she was like shouting at all of us. But then she noticed that he was obviously having some sort of bad reaction. And so she quickly rushed him outside the room, and, he had to go outside, and he was all coughing up and stuff like that. She did find out it was me. Basically, I admitted to it because I just didn't care, like I said. And on the outside, I was still acting like I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just water off a duck's back, like just laughing about it and things like that. But on the inside, I literally felt remorse. I felt empathy for that guy, and I was like, what am I doing? What was I thinking? I could have seriously hurt that guy. And it's only when our actions have larger consequences than us that I think we really understand how significant they are. Because especially if we see ourselves as insignificant, anything that's happening to us as a result of our actions, we know we deserve, and we don't really care about it because we don't care enough about ourselves. But if we have any semblance of empathy within us, when our actions start affecting other people around us that we actually like and we love and we respect and we care about, that's when you realise, I've got to do something, I've got to change. And my actions have bigger consequences than just me. And it wasn't just him that was impacted by that. There was a whole commotion, like I said, that lasted about 15-20 minutes, where they had to get a teacher to come in to take me out, and all of this, my mates standing up for me, and just trouble, disruption. And that's ruining lesson time for all the other kids in that lesson that are trying to learn, that value their education. And then you've got these dickheads at the back of the class who are just ruining it for everybody else, don't care about anybody else but themselves. And so I realised that's what I was playing on the outside, but on the inside I felt different. And it was from that moment on that I realised I needed to change. I couldn't keep being this character anymore. I couldn't keep up with this mask, this persona. And yeah, it was getting me friends, but were these people really my friends? Or did they just want to be around me because it was a good laugh? Or because I'd do what they suggested me to do? I'd shoot myself in the foot to make them laugh. Or maybe I'd shoot someone else to make them laugh. And that's the thing, I didn't mind so much about shooting myself in the foot because I didn't care about myself enough at that time. Obviously I do now. But when I started shooting other people, metaphorically, when my actions started impacting other people, I was like, yeah, this is not right. This is not right. And it made me think about it in a completely different perspective. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a defining moment like that where it changes your perception and it changes your life trajectory. All it takes is one moment like that, and you can never unknow what you now know. You can never unsee what you have seen. And as much as you try to block it out and push it down and pretend like it didn't happen or it doesn't exist, it will come back, it will resurface, and it will continue to penetrate your mind in all instances. And I remember that's what happened to me, because after that it wasn't like a radical shifting moment. I didn't completely change overnight, and it's not like that. It's not a linear process change. But what happened was it kick-started the process of change for me. And it was from that point on that I started asking deeper questions about my actions. I started thinking more about the direction my life was going and the person I was actively participating in becoming, and how the people around me were influencing that person and the future of that person and the people that were around me. And so I guess what I want to say is, being the class clown isn't cool. Being funny is cool. But causing disruption, causing chaos, being a rebel simply for the sake of it, interfering with other people's lives, interfering with other people's chances at a successful education, that's not cool. And I learned that the hard way. Hopefully, you don't have to.